The janitors touched the grand concert hall of the Metropolitan Arts Center stood silent in the early morning hours. Golden light filtered through tall windows, casting long shadows across the polished marble floors. The ornate chandeliers hung like frozen fireworks above rows of empty velvet seats. Waiting for the evening's performance, Samuel Hayes pushed his cleaning cart slowly down the center aisle. At 72 years old, he had been the night janitor. Here for nearly 40 years. His weathered hands gripped the cart's handle as he made his way toward the stage, where a magnificent grand piano sat waiting under the spotlight. Samuel had cleaned around that piano thousands of times. He knew every curve of its ebony surface, every gleam of its golden pedals, but he had never touched the keys, not once. The piano belonged to another world, a world of evening gowns and tuxedos, of applause and standing ovations. A world where old janitors like him were invisible. Tonight was different, though. Tonight was Samuel's last shift. After 4 decades of quiet service, he was finally retiring. His replacement would start tomorrow. As he approached the piano, Samuel felt a strange pull in his chest, a longing he had carried for so many years. See, Samuel had a secret. Before life led him down a different path, before responsibilities and hardships changed everything, he had been a pianist. Not a famous one, but talented enough to dream. His fingers remembered melodies his heart had never forgotten. He stopped his cart beside the piano and looked around the empty hall. The security cameras wouldn't record audio, he knew. And who would be watching at 5 in the morning anyway? Samuel's hand trembled slightly as he reached toward the keys. Just one note, he thought. Just one. His index finger pressed middle C. The sound rang out clear and pure, echoing in the vast space. Samuel closed his eyes and smiled. It had been so long since he'd heard that sound, the sound of possibility, of music waiting to be born. 1 note became 2. 2 became a chord. Before Samuel knew it, his hands were moving across the keys, playing a gentle melody he'd composed. As a young man, but never shared with anyone. His fingers, though stiff with age, still remembered. The music flowed from him like water from a spring. "Excuse me." Samuel's hands jerked away from the keys as if they'd been burned. He spun around to see a young woman standing at the edge of the stage. She wore an elegant red evening gown, her blonde hair styled perfectly despite the early hour. This was Charlotte Whitmore, daughter of the Arts Center's biggest benefactor. Samuel had seen her at galas and fundraisers, always surrounded by admirers, always untouchable. His face flushed with embarrassment and shame. "I'm sorry, Miss Whitmore," Samuel stammered, backing away from the piano. "I was just I shouldn't have. I'll get back to my cleaning." Charlotte stepped closer, her heels clicking on the wooden stage floor. Samuel braced himself for anger, for demands that he be fired on his last day. Instead, she asked quietly, "What was that piece you were playing?" Samuel looked down at his worn work boots. "Nothing important, miss. Just something I doubted matter." "It was beautiful," Charlotte said, and something in her voice made Samuel look up. Her eyes weren't cold or angry. They were curious, even kind. "I've never heard it before. Did you write it?" Samuel nodded slowly. "A long time ago." "I'm sorry for disturbing." "Don't apologize," Charlotte interrupted. "I came here early to practice for tonight's performance, but what I heard—" "Your music?" "It moved me more than anything I've played in years." She walked to the piano and sat on the bench, her gown flowing around her like spilled wine. "Would you play it again?" "Please?" Samuel hesitated. This felt like a dream, too strange to be real. But Charlotte's expression was sincere, and after 40 years of being invisible, someone finally saw him not as a janitor, but as a person with something to offer. He approached the piano cautiously and placed his hands on the keys. This time, he played with more confidence, letting the melody speak the words he'd never been able to say. The music told the story of dreams deferred, of quiet dignity, of finding beauty in unexpected places. Charlotte listened with her eyes closed, her head tilted slightly as if drinking in every note. When Samuel finished, the silence stretched. Between them, like a bridge neither wanted to cross. "That's the most honest music I've ever heard," Charlotte whispered. Then she looked at him with new eyes. Will you teach it to me? Miss Whitmore, I don't think. Charlotte, she corrected gently. And I'm serious, I want to learn your piece. Would you consider playing it with me tonight? As a duet? Samuel's mouth opened, but no words came. Play in front of an audience? On stage? It was impossible. Charlotte seemed to read his thoughts. I know it seems overwhelming, but your music deserves to be heard, and I think you deserve to be seen. As the morning sun climbed higher, filling the concert hall, with golden light, Charlotte and Samuel sat side by side at the piano bench. She was patient as he taught her the melody, encouraging when his confidence wavered. They worked together, her polished technique blending with his soulful interpretation. By the time other staff members began arriving, they had created something. Neither could have achieved alone a bridge between two worlds, two generations, two very different lives united by music. That evening, the concert hall filled with the city's elite. Ladies in glittering gowns and gentlemen in crisp tuxedos took their seats, unaware that they were about to witness something extraordinary. Charlotte took the stage first, radiant in her red gown. But instead of beginning her planned performance, she spoke to the audience. Tonight, I want to share something special with you. A piece written by someone who has been part of this hall longer than most of us have been alive. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Samuel Hayes. Samuel emerged from the wings in a borrowed tuxedo that Charlotte had arranged. His hands shook as he walked to the piano, but when he sat beside Charlotte and placed his fingers on the keys, something inside him settled. They began to play. Samuel's melody, simple yet profound, filled the hall. Charlotte's harmonies lifted it higher, adding layers of complexity and beauty. The audience sat transfixed, hearing not just music, but a story of dignity, of dreams that never die, of the extraordinary hiding within the ordinary. When the last note faded, the silence stretched for a heartbeat. Then the audience erupted in applause, rising to their feet as one. But Samuel barely heard them. He was looking at Charlotte, whose eyes shone with tears and joy. In that moment, under the warm glow of the chandeliers, surrounded by the thunderous appreciation of strangers who finally saw him, Samuel understood that sometimes the most beautiful music comes not from perfection, but from the courage to let your true self be heard. The janitor had touched more than just the piano keys. He had touched hearts, including his own.